Right, hello everybody, Adam Clery, FourFourTwo. You may remember me, Mikel Merino. He has either gone to Arsenal or is going to Arsenal, depending on when you're watching this. And I have seen already on the internet a lot of people getting really excited about that because he's being described as a duel-winning machine, which is to say he's very good at getting the ball in the centre of the pitch, not that he steals like rubies and emeralds. And that is quite the exciting proposition because you stick somebody like that, a combative player, at the base of Arsenal's midfield with 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗧 there and Declan Rice there, and all of a sudden, you've cracked it. You've got the perfect three. Because that is it, isn't it? That's all you ever want in a midfield three. You want a progressor, a creator, and a destroyer. You want legs, brains, teeth. You want athlete, genius, bastard. But I do not actually think for one single second Mikel Merino is coming into this Arsenal side to be the new starting number 6. I think, in fact, he is coming to solve a much differenter and much bigger problem entirely. And I will tell you about it now. Okay, so first off, who is Mikel Merino, right? Maybe you saw him play a little bit for Spain at the Euros, but didn't really notice him doing anything. Maybe you remember him having that season for Newcastle, but also not really. Maybe you're a Real Sociedad season ticket holder, you just weren't paying attention. No judgment here. Well, in short, he is and I'm going to end up using this word like a million times in this video, a combative, ball-winning central midfielder with a very high level of technical on-the-ball ability, who isn't afraid to progress the ball up the field either with running or with passing, and can also create a bit in the final third as well. If that sounds too good to be true, well, it's not. He is very good. Now, you are going to hear loads about his ability to win duels and how he was like one of the best players in the world last season for doing that. And it's kind of a bit of a like nebulous, weird term, but it's basically defined as any scenario on the football pitch where two players are competing physically for control of the ball. So maybe you've got the ball and you're trying to bully your way past somebody while retaining control of it. That's an offensive duel. Maybe someone else has got it and you manage to get shoulder to shoulder with them to try and wrestle it away. That's a defensive duel. If it's in the air and you both go to head it, that's an aerial duel. If it's just bouncing around on the ground and you both go in at the same time, that's a loose ball duel. You get the picture, right? Merino is brilliant at all of them. Last season in La Liga, Merino competed for the ball against an opponent 581 times. That is the second most in the entire league, and he won over 50% of them. Now, you're going to understand very quickly why that's quite an appealing thing to Arsenal, because the next most comparable central midfielder in Europe, in terms of the number of those they were in, the percentage of those they won, is Bruno at Newcastle, Arteta's #1 dream signing imaginable. Actually, you can tell I've had a week off here because I've somehow managed to bury the headline in all of that, right? Given the number of duels he was in and the percentage of them he won more than any other player in the top 5 leagues in Europe. He was the only one to win more than 300. And that's flippin' astonishing. And also, and this is particularly interesting for Arsenal, I think, when you sort of subdivide all those types of duels, he was #1 for aerials as well. Like, literally nobody else won the ball more frequently in the air than he did. And given how good Arsenal are at set pieces, how good they are at corners, that's a massive, massive weapon to all of a sudden be able to throw into your side. So if you put all that stuff together, it paints you this sort of like patchwork FB-ref profile of all the things Merino's really good at. And you can look at that and very easily draw the conclusion that this guy is a deep battling, hard running, hard tackling, hard looking, I guess it's a weird shaped head, number 6. And I do think, in all honesty, right, if this was like 20, 15, maybe even 10 years ago, that's possibly where he would have found himself playing. But these days, there are certain other requirements of a sitting number 6 in a top team. And that's maybe where his game starts to fall down a little bit. Because if we compare these specific numbers to those of Jorginho, who ended up filling that role in for Arsenal after they had their little rejig over Christmas, etc., etc., you can see that Merino, especially in terms of the aerials, the ball recoveries, and a few other things, is definitely a step up. But what all the really top teams need in that position more than a ball winner is a ball player. And if you put their passing numbers side by side, it is a yikes from me. Now, I will just say, Arsenal fans, if you're looking at the spectacular drop-off between those two sets of statistics, I would perhaps not be as immediately alarmed as you will feel like you should be. Merino plays in a very different team, in a quite different system, in a totally different position at Sociedad, so I would say these numbers are more a reflection of the role he plays rather than some like innate lack of ability. However, the one statistic here that I would draw your attention to is their comparative progressive passing number. It's the thing we're banging on about more than anything else on this channel. It is a measure of a player's ability to receive the ball in the middle of a passing move and not go backwards, not go sideways, keep that moving forward. If you're in the central midfield of any ambitious attacking side, that needs to be high. And I would say definitely there is a disparity between Merino and a player like Jorginho in terms of their passing ability, but it's better reflected, it's a fairer assessment to look at these two numbers where it's like, what, 8 times a game and 6 times a game versus all these horrible, scary red ones. So that is a bit of a problem. Like, if you stuck Merino in here, then yes, you'd have a little bit more bite, a bit more competitiveness, more duel winning, say it with me, everybody. But when Arsenal need to progress the ball up the pitch, they would not have as much ability to do that as they would with a player like Jorginho. But it's not actually a wholly fair comparison to make, because after all, he doesn't play there for Real Sociedad. Doesn't play at the base of a midfield three. In fact, I'll show you. I'll show you his seasonal heat map from every game he played for his club last season. He plays here, which is where Declan Rice plays. Like, Merino has absolutely no problem dropping and taking it off the back four. He will sometimes play in a double pivot when needs be, albeit on the left-hand side, but primarily gets the ball further up the pitch than a holding midfielder would, and he gets into this left-hand channel. He attacks the box from there. He can get out wide from there. Very similar to exactly where Declan Rice plays when he plays for Arsenal. So that begs the question, what does he do better than Declan Rice? And the answer is, well, not a whole lot, really. They're actually quite similar players in terms of how they move around the box, how they carry the ball forward. You'd argue that Merino's a better threat in the air, but Rice has sort of better delivery. He's not going to displace Rice as the starting left-sided number 8. And if he's not coming in to play number 8 and he's not coming in to play number 6, what is the problem Arsenal have that he somehow miraculously solved? These are the combined minutes across all competitions for Arsenal's main creative players, Man City's main creative players, and Liverpool's main creative players. Now, I know this is a slight oversimplification. You've got to factor in like injuries and tactical stuff, but Arsenal were pretty much bang on consistent for the entire season of making sure that Saka, Ødegaard, and Rice started every single game they were able to. And the reason for that is because they're amazing and they will win Arsenal games, and they're part of the reason they ran City so close yet again. But it does leave Arsenal so vulnerable to just a couple of injuries. The fact is, when Arteta would look to his bench or look to his squad, he would see players like Reiss Nelson, Emile Smith-Rowe, Fabio Vieira, Mohamed El Neni, and yes, they all had their own problems like injuries and form and not necessarily being a tactical fit, but regardless, he did not trust them to come into this side and do the job required. You compare that to the situation Guardiola finds himself in, where he has almost zero qualms about throwing in yet another superstar to play a possibly unfamiliar role or to fill in for an injury here and there, and it's just not a luxury Arsenal currently have. So Merino's not somebody who's going to come in and start as Arsenal's number 6, but there may be games where you're quite happy to sacrifice the ball progression for a little bit more bite in the middle, and he can do it then. He's not going to displace Declan Rice as the left-sided number 8, but there may be matches or just parts of matches where it makes sense to drop Rice into the number 6, and you can put Merino there and trust him to do that job. And given that Arsenal have had this 4-3-3 for a number of years now, there will undoubtedly be parts of the season where they need to try something else, and Merino would be fantastic to sit in a double pivot along with a Jorginho or along with a Rice and complement them superbly. And we talk about depth a lot in football. I think it gets slightly misinterpreted. It's not just about having another body sitting on the bench who can come on when there's injuries or when people are tired. It's about opening up your options. It's about giving yourself more things you can do on a football pitch depending on what it is you're facing. And that's precisely what I think Mikel Merino would be to Arsenal. He's not just another body, he's not just going to sit on the bench. He'll get so many minutes, but he'll do so in various positions that help to complement the better players in the side. And the thing is, you just never know what sort of tactical journey your team is going to go on through the course of the season. Like maybe because of injuries, maybe because of other teams figuring you out, you are forced to change what it is you're doing. And having a player who gives you something completely different makes that problem easier to solve. So what is it that Mikel Merino gives Arsenal? Well, he gives them more. He gives them more ability, he gives them more doggedness, he gives them more options. It's the exact kind of signing a top team makes. And for what? 20 million in this economy? Like, do you have any idea how heartbroken I, as a Newcastle fan, am that he's coming back to the Premier League and it's not to us? Do you not have any idea how many times I have tweeted, bring him home? It's more than 3. Mental capacity for today. So if you have enjoyed this video, please do consider subscribing to us here on FourFourTwo. And if I could just have your time for one very small second, I am doing an enormous run. I may have mentioned this in the coming weeks. The Great North Run back in Newcastle, and I'm raising as much money as I can for Mind, who are a mental health charity here in the UK. Their work is, honestly, trust me, really important and very close to my heart. So if you have got a spare $5 or a $10 or something just kicking around the back of your pocket or whatever the expression is, the link is in the thing below. You can read more about what it is I'm doing, why I'm doing it, why it's a really bad idea for me to be doing it, and it's just there. Elsewhere, you get me on the social medias at 𝗕𝗫𝗧𝗏, Clery, FourFourTwo socials in the corner of the video. The latest issue of the magazine. Oh no! It's the season preview issue. It's the best thing we do all year, and I've left it over there. I'll show you on the next video, but if you haven't already, it's in shops and it's brilliant. It's like a double thing. It's got previews of every single club. It's the best thing we do, honestly. So you should go and buy that, even though I can't show it to you. Hang on, here's a picture. Gonna leave that there. That's the end of the video. Comments, let me know what you think of Merino, Arsenal fans, and just generalized well wishes. You can tell I've not done this for a week, can't you? Bye.